Coaches, welcome to another episode of the All Access Coaching Podcast. You are listening to the All Access Coaching Podcast, which is powered by the Glazier Drive. My name is Rick Stewart, and I created All Access Coaching with the vision of coaches helping coaches, which is why I partner with the folks at Glaziers, because we share a same common vision, which is making you a better coach. So again, this is hosted by allaccesscoaching.com. I want to take a minute to introduce you to our sponsor for today's episode, which is very personal to me as an ex-Marine. This episode is being brought to you by the U.S. Marine Corps. Be sure to connect with the Marines when you attend any of the 2022 Glazier clinics and invite them to host a Marines fitness test at your school. The Marine Fitness Test provides unparalleled team building and leadership development for your athletes and is offered free of charge when you partner with your local Marine recruiting station. And I'm going to go off script for a second and tell you, coaches, if you know anything about my career, I've taken over 4 really bad programs, was able to turn them around and take them to playoffs. And I always tell people it wasn't my playbook, it wasn't my X's and O's why I turned that around. When you really focus on relationships and you build your players from the inside out and you focus on their character and leadership development, John Wooden was right. He was very prophetic in that winning's a byproduct. And I think when you really do your job in the weight room and with relationships and team building, character and leadership, to be quite honest with you, although coach's offense is going to be pretty phenomenal, I'm excited about hearing it. It really doesn't matter at that point what offense you're running, which is why there's state champions running the slot tee, the single wing, the pistol wing tee, the spread RPO stuff. Because what the commonality with the championship coaches is the relationships and the team building and character. And all of my leadership training and the stuff I do, I go back to my training from the Marine Corps. So if you have a chance to connect with your local Marine station and bring those guys in to talk about some leadership and team building stuff, it really is really phenomenal. I've got the John Maxwell stuff and all these quote unquote experts in leadership, but I always am going back to my, what we call in the Marine Corps, our RPO training, which is, when you become a first year, when you're a corporal, that's your first year in leadership, and you have to go through some training with the Marine Corps to do that. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited that the Marine Corps is sponsoring that. As you can see, I'm a little passionate about this sponsor because it's true to my heart. About the coach, we're really excited. We've got a 26-year coaching veteran, the head coach athletic director at Lovejoy High School, Chris Ross. Lovejoy High School is a 5A school out in Texas, and 4 years ago, Coach Ross returned to the high school ranks after coaching at Boise with his good friend, Brian Harson, who's now the head coach at Auburn. I met Coach at Boston. We had a really good time. Gosh, Coach, I think we were the last ones to leave that bar. We had all those young coaches talking ball with us, and Coach and I are getting a little bit up in age. So, that 1 a.m. stuff was a little dragging, but we had a good time. We had a bunch of young coaches just soaking up information, and we're sharing great ideas. In fact, I'm guilty. I think I bowed out a little early. Coach stayed up a little later than I did that night, but we had a good time. And Coach is loving this new chapter in his career of being on the clinic circuit for Glazier. Like I said, I met him at Boston. He just returned from an awesome speaking gig in Minnesota. And then Coach and I, in 2 weeks, we're going to be in San Francisco together talking ball. Coach is a 140-game winner. He's won 14 to 15 district titles he really couldn't remember because it's not important to him. And he's been an 11-time district, 3-time area, and a 5A Texas Coach of the Year. Coach, welcome. We're really excited to have you on. And Coach, maybe you can spend a couple minutes introducing yourself to our podcast listeners.
Oh, thank you, Rick. I really appreciate that. It's funny, we're going to talk a little bit about offense, but I'm probably more passionate about the things you were just talking about with the Marine Corps. And the longer we do this, we know there's really not a magic play, is there, Rick?
No.
So it really does go back to, what John Wooden was saying and some of the other things that you were talking about. So that was awesome to hear you say that. Like you said, I've been coaching since 1994, and I've been very fortunate. I've been a middle school coach. I've been an offensive coordinator. I've been a defensive coordinator. I've been a head football coach. I've gotten to do a little bit in college, and then I've come back. I've been an athletic director and now a head football coach at a 5A school. Worked in, predominantly white schools, predominantly African-American, rich, poor. I've really gotten a lot of different things. And I've been very, very blessed. And, over the years, I've been around some great assistant coaches and programs and had the ability to win a lot of football games. And And like you said, it's been really, really rewarding. At this stage of our careers, Rick, it's a lot of fun to go coach coaches as well, and to give back to some of those guys, like you were talking about, what I watched you do in Boston.
Awesome. Well, with these guys tuned in, we promised them some X's and O's, right? And I always joke, if you say RPOs, they come running now, right? It's like if back in the day, if you just threw dollar bills out in the streets, people would flock. Well, if I just started yelling RPO, everybody comes running from all the different corners. So Coach has a very exciting offensive tack, although he's well-versed on the defensive side of the ball. His Glazier talks on defense has been standing room only. But I asked Coach, and he says, well, Coach, I'm probably my expertise is in offense. And so I said, let's talk about this. Coach has what he calls a vertical option attack. It's multi-formational offense with a downhill running game. Now, before you say, well, gosh, that's what everybody's running, it's just the same old. No, Coach's is pretty unique. You guys want to stay tuned for this one. Coach has been blessed to install the offense with many high school staffs, but even a few FBS colleges, and we really weren't comfortable naming those colleges, but these are big-time ranked teams. They bring Coach in as a consultant. So there must be some magic sauce here to this offense, and Coach is going to talk about that tonight, and we're excited about that. Well, Coach, tell us about this vertical option attack, and go ahead and share your screen, and what makes this offense special from all the other guys who are saying, well, I run a no huddle RPO offense.
You know what? I think so many times we're thinking, right now, we all seem to be thinking of offenses as plays and not really understanding that really what it is a system, and this system, we've been running it the last 3 years, really, at 2 different schools with 3 different quarterbacks. And in that time, we've been very, very successful. The very first year that we implemented it in 2019, we went into Red Oak, and they had been 4-36 in the 4 years before we got there. And, we won 20 games in 2 years. Did that, left Red Oak, put in the system at Lovejoy. They had been exactly 20-20 in the 4 years before we went in there. And the 2 years we've been there, we're 25-3. So obviously, it works. But like I said, it's a system. And I've got stats up here, and you can't see it on the podcast. But really what it's saying, it's we're consistent, we're balanced. We can effectively run the ball and throw the ball well. I had a sophomore quarterback this year. First-year starter, he threw for 51 touchdowns. The quarterback before him threw for 47. The quarterback before him threw for 44. So you think, God, how do you throw that many touchdowns? Well, you throw it deep. You throw it to good people, and you have some balance in what you do. And so, I think that's been a key to what we're doing. And so much about the vertical option RPO offense, it really goes back to we feel like we can take advantage of the players that we have. It's a very, very flexible, fluid system that we use. We think that the genius in what we do, athletically with our guys is how simple it is. It allows us to play fast. And Rick said it, we're multiple formation and multiple personnel group. The personnel groups and the formations are not as important to us as they are to a lot of people. We're more about how do we get our best players on the field and create the mismatches that win games. So we're going to, and our system is flexible enough that it allows us to have that type of variance in what we do. And then it's based on a physical downhill run game. We do run the ball off tackle, but, when we're throwing our RPO game, for the most part, it's a vertical football game. We feel like we can get the ball to the sidelines with our screens and our quick games and then fly sweep stuff, but then we have a lot of variance in our downhill game. We're going to make you decide, are you going to play 2 safeties or 1 safety? If you're going to play 1 safety, are you going to man it? Are you going to zone it? We feel like it really limits what you can do against us. We have, and I have up here, there's the foundational game plan questions that I think we all ask. What's their base defensive scheme, and where are their people, and how do they play them? I think everybody knows that, but not every system allows you to attack these mismatches wherever you find them. think too many times we get caught up into, what collection of plays are we going to run this week? And I think what our offense allows us to do is to create mismatches, hide mismatches, and most importantly, take advantage of the mismatches when we have them. That is really the basis of what we're doing. Within this system, we have it really broken down into a weekly schedule of exactly what is a Saturday going to look like for us, from post-game analysis all the way through how we're going to implement our installation plan with our kids. We have a Sunday Zoom meeting in the evening that moves right into our game plan and installs Monday all the way to our plan of attack on Friday.
Hey, Coach, can we back up on that point? I want to, this comes up a lot now in this day of Zooms and huddle and everything's online. Coach, give us your opinion, your 2-cent opinion that might be worth only 1 penny on bringing your staff in for a weekend meeting versus doing everything virtual and letting your coaches just stay home for the weekend and doing all the game plans at home.
I think that there's pluses and minuses to both. There has to be a balance. Obviously, we're coaches and we're passionate about what we do. And to say work-life balance, and in our job, there's not much. I think as head coaches, it's our responsibility to understand probably the most important thing we do, Rick, as head coaches, is manage the time of grown men. And we have to understand, that's for every moment I have you on my staff, Rick, with me, I have you away from your wife and from your kids. And so I think I'm passionate about not wasting their time. And they understand that when we meet and we're working together, it's because we have to, that's time's going to be well spent. So there are certain things that the coaches understand. This is when we're going to be in, and this is when we're going to get out. These are the things that must be done. And then we'll have a brief meeting. And then from that meeting, everybody goes home with their assignment. So there is a meeting in the morning. There are certain things that have to be done together, but then they leave.
Love it. So to summarize, you do believe that the staff needs a meet in person, but make it very meaningful and make it efficient and have purpose to your meeting.
That's exactly right.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely. Like I said, there is a certain balance that you have to have, but the other thing on this job, it takes what it takes. There's no shortcuts to being great at what you're doing. I think that if there is a shortcut, it's being disciplined, following the set plan that you have and understanding that, again, every moment that you have them with you, they're away from their family. So make sure that you're not wasting their time.
Awesome.
So, we have a weekly schedule and, we go through exactly what we're going to do, from developing the base game plan on a Sunday, to what a Monday plan, a Tuesday plan is going to look like, all the way up to, how are we going to implement the kicking game into our plan of attack. And then, our coaches understand our practice schedules really, Rick, they rarely change. We're 21 periods. That's 5 minutes a period. So you think that's not very long. We are flying. We're going as fast. It is an absolute race against the clock. We have our player meetings. Our guys understand, not only the focus of the day, they understand exactly when they're going to compete, what the tempo of each one of these sections is going to be. And so they're looking at it knowing, okay, here's where we're going to get to go against the defense, or, this is where coach has said this is all going to be filmed, and, this is what we're going to be talking about the next day. I think so many times, it's not just go out there for 2 hours and practice and get done. It's what is the theme and the focus of not just your practice, but each section of your practice. And, do your coaches know that? Well, if they don't know that, then how do the kids know it? And so we believe that, by having a consistent, plan in place, that this is really the secret in some ways to what we do offensively. It's not necessarily the plays, it's our system and how we teach what we do. So you can, those of you that can see, you have a very detailed 3-day work week that we use really all year long. We may change 5 or 10 minutes here based on what we're seeing from the week before. But other than that, this is how we break things down. We look at it like this. You have mental Monday, toughness Tuesday, and workday Wednesday. And so that's kind of the theme. And then so off of that, you can see on Monday, that's going to be just your very basic pass game. These are your rundown passes, your rundown runs. This is how you're going to be attacking them. These are the plays that you look back, and if you did it correctly, you were calling these run plays 25, 35 times. These were probably the 20 to 25 time pass plays that you were calling. These were your first and second down plays, high red, and then you kind of have that plan going. Then you move into Tuesday, and now it's full pads on Tuesday for us. Now you're getting into all the physical, blocking, lots and lots of blocking. And in our offense, everybody's blocking but the quarterback. If he's having to block, we got a problem. But everybody's blocking on this day. You have more of your competition on that day. And then Wednesday, of course, you're tying it all together. And there's just Wednesday's tons and tons of situational football. So many times as coaches, Rick, you've seen it too, but you go watch a practice and everybody puts the ball in the middle of the field and never moves. And they just plays till they run out of time. And we are calling everything off of the sideline. If you're going to play fast, you have to practice fast. And if you're going to practice fast, then you have to do it exactly like you're going to do it in a game.
Coach, we talked before we started the recording, right, that you and I are at a point of our career where we're going to be able to tell the next generation coaches, don't make the mistakes we made. And I'm guilty, Coach. Exactly. I was a first-time head coach in 1998, fresh out of the Marine Corps. And Coach, I put the ball at the 50-yard line and ran team for a whole hour because I just didn't understand this. And honestly, I wasn't that prepared. And so all I knew was, well, let's just review our plays for an hour. Coach, I need to sit down and personally write all those players an apology letter.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Coach, that was a gold nugget. I want to repeat that. So it's Mental Monday, Toughness Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And what was Wednesday?
Workday Wednesday.
Workday Wednesday. I love it, Coach. Love it. Mental Monday, Toughness Tuesday, Workday Wednesday.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so, we break it down. Think of it like this. Monday is lots of walkthroughs and installs and just the basic things you have to have every week. Tuesday, you're putting the pads on. This is blocking and tackling. This is go back to the fundamentals. And, we specifically set every drill up. So we're working on like zone combos, for instance, up front, all of the perimeter screen blocking things. All of that's really focused on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is a little bit of both, but tons of situations so that, we feel like that if we're doing this correctly, Rick, that all of our coaches and all of our players, that first third and short, there's no surprises. Everybody knows what we're going to call. We hit that first big play past the 50-yard line. The ball's on our hash. Everybody knows what we're about to call, and we do the same thing on defense. It's no different.
Awesome. Got to have a plan. What's that saying? It's classic, right? Where I'm not inventing this saying. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
That's exactly right. And this, Rick, that situation you didn't work is the one that's going to come up over and over and over and again. Right?
Isn't that the Murphy law of coaching?
We call it Friday just because it shows up over and over. You get humbled pretty quick on those, right?
Yes, you do.
So, and then obviously everybody has a game plan or a call sheet, whatever you do. One thing that I think that we do that's maybe a little bit different, Rick, that we call all of our plays throughout the week off of our call sheet. We don't script anything. So as we're doing all of our group and team work, like I will say, hey, these are all third and mediums. These are third and mediums on the left hash. These are our third and 11 pluses. And we're going through them and calling them off the sideline. We got the chains out there. And you know what it does, Rick? It makes us work on our communication process and just getting the plays in and calling them exactly how we're going to do them in the game. So many times I watch coaches and they come to, we have tons of coaches, Rick, come to practice. And they're always like, how do y'all play so fast? Well, then when they see practice, they kind of understand because we're not playing the game on Friday. We're playing the game on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I think that's something that it takes organization and it takes, like we talked about, really not a collection of plays, but having a detailed system.
Hey, I have been so blessed. I do so many of these podcasts and working with Glazier, and I've done these summits. And so I've sat on now hundreds of these things, and I'm very blessed because my football knowledge just keeps expanding. Coach, I love that. Coach, that's the first time I ever heard that. Don't script your plays in practice. Go right off your call sheet. So, wow. And then, of course, you're calling it from the sidelines. So your players every day in practice they are literally in a game situation.
Yes. It feels like a game. They have pressure on every play. We're moving the football. We're working all of our situations. We're going to work in 2-point. We're going to work in going for it on fourth down. We're going to work backed up. We're going to go live versus our defense on Tuesday and Wednesday. We have certain situations that we're doing it in team, full speed. We have other things. Mainly, we do a lot of group together. But I just know this, Rick. I know you've called offense in a lot of football games. How many times do you remember early on where you're like, where is that third and long play that we liked? And where was that? Or what did we say that we wanted to run on our 4-minute plan? But if you're running that on Tuesday and Wednesday and you're calling it off your sheet, all of your coaches, they're signaling, they're communicating, they know exactly what they should be looking at. They're answering questions in practice just like it's a game. And, heck, we need practice as well. So I really don't want us working on it 10 times a year. I think that's something that we need to be working on every day as well.
Awesome.
And just briefly, I think so many times as coaches, we have everything detailed and planned out, and we're ready with our call sheet, and we've got all of our favorite plays ready to go. And then you get into halftime. And how many times, Rick, do you either have so much information you don't even know what to look at, or you start asking questions, nobody has an answer for you. And unfortunately, I've been around both situations as an assistant coach and as a head coach. And, everybody's got a plan. I don't really care what your plan is. I think you have to have one. We've simplified our drive chart to the point that, really all I want to know, Rick, is where did it begin and end? How many plays did we run? And what was the result? And then we'll have a couple of notes on what was the big play and what stood out to you. And just briefly, what stood out in that drive. And then we'll have just a box. And in that box, we'll have under there explosive plays and just efficient plays. So I can just grab that and see exactly what happened on every drive in the first half. What are our explosives? What are our efficient plays? Maybe what do I need to stay away from and what do I need to keep running? And I can be looking at that as I'm walking in to the field. And by the time I get in with the team and the coaches, I've already got a decent idea of what just happened. Awesome. Yeah. And then, from there, we're really, really big about scripting all of our second half openers. I think everybody talks about scripting plays and, we script almost everything really on the first half. All of our third downs are scripted, but so are our second half as well. And by scripting, it doesn't mean we're just going to, I'm going to run these 10 plays in order no matter what. We're not doing that, but we're saying, hey, here's these first 2 plays. We really like these tempoed together. If we have a third and short, we're going to come with this. A third and medium is this. A third and that's our call. That's what we're going to do. Or after, we hit a big third and long, we're going to go right to this 3-play script. And so that's kind of what our scripts look like. We have tempo calls and groupings of plays. So we might name it, Mustang that week. And Mustang might be a 3-play roll that we can go with. And that might be on our second half opener. That might be, our third and medium, our favorite third and medium call is maybe the first one in Mustang because we feel really good about it, for instance. And again, it's not so much how we set it up, but I think every coach should really start thinking about, coming out in that first drive of the third quarter is gigantic. And so many times, we waste, you just have precious moments to go in there and really get a great picture of exactly what happened in that first half. And I think, you talk about critical coaches and their ability to go in and impact a football game, being able to make those kind of adjustments quickly and decisively is the difference between really being an average football coach and being a great one.
So Coach, kind of, the script that Bill Walsh made famous, right? That him and Mike Holmgren and all the guys off the Bill Walsh tree, they had the classic, the 10 or 15 to open the game, the 10 or 15 for the second half. You're still scripting Friday night, but you're scripting by down and distance. So you have a third and long script. You have a third and short script. You have a first down openers script. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely. So we'll have what we call P&10, or the first play of a new series. So we have our plays that we know anytime there's a clock stoppage, or a new series, we have things that we're going to call off of that. We have certain plays that we like together. We have, if our first third and long with 12 personnel on the field, we want to roll with that personnel. We know we're going to go right to this. Or it might be out of certain formations. We'll tempo out of personnel groups, or we'll tempo out of formation, or a mixture of both. But if you're going to go fast, you have to have a detailed plan to do that. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about. There's your plays, but then there's the system that takes advantage of those plays, that take advantage of the players, that take advantage of the mismatches. It all ties together.
Now we're looking at an interesting slide, and we understand some of you coaches are driving your car or on a morning walk with your dog. This is interesting how you've got the coaches broken out. So these are the responsibilities during a drive. Love it.
Yeah. And again, there's a million different ways of doing it. But I think so many times as coaches, we just underestimate, how important it is to make sure everybody they're not just watching the game or coaching their kids, being very as specific as possible with the coaches on exactly what their role is during the game. So we break our coaches down for their job during a drive and in between a drive. And for instance, I just have on this one, your sideline coaches and your box coaches. And when you really think about it, what all must be done on the sideline? Well, you have play calling, you have timeouts, you have penalties, you have somebody watching the point of attack, you probably have somebody watching the O-line near you, you have somebody responsible for personnel groups. We're big on watching secondary play to our sideline, coverage look, and then, of course, we have somebody signaling, and then somebody in charge of our signal group. Those are all the people on the sideline that have their different jobs, and we make sure everybody understands that job. Here's the other deal, Rick. They're doing that on Monday, on Tuesday, and Wednesday when we're in team and group as well. They're doing the exact same thing. And then your coaches in the box, we have a verbal D&D and hash. So in other words, as soon as the ball, they can tell where it's spotted. There's somebody saying 2nd and 8, right hash, and so now everybody immediately knows where the ball is so we can get that ball, get the play called. Somebody is doing that drive chart that we were talking about. That we have a coach with a 2-point chart. We've got personnel rotations going on up there. And then, of course, you have the people watching the things that we never can see on the sideline, and that's everything away from you. So, you have one responsible for the O-line away, one responsible for all the personnel matchups in the secondary away from you. And then you have one that all they're doing is drawing any defensive front adjustments, pressures, tendencies, personnel group changes. You have that one guy, and that's got to be one of your sharper guys. We have 2 that do that. And then you have somebody that's just simply writing. This could be a kid. They're just charting the offensive play call, down and distance, hash, field position, and the result. And that's honestly one of the first things I ask in between series is exactly, hey, what just happened?
Coach, you're a head coach now. I know in Texas it's a little bit different, and you're coaching 5A ball, and you're blessed to have 2 ex-college coaches as your coordinators. What do you talk about the guy who, like me, when I started my career, I was the head coach and the offensive coordinator at the same time. I was wearing 2 hats. Do you want to kind of touch on that? If you got a head coach and offense coordinator wearing the same hat, as far as should he be on the sideline, should he be in the press box?
You know what? I've been an offensive coordinator, and I've been on the sideline, and I've been in the box. And in a perfect world, I really think, to me personally, when you're up in the box, it almost feels like you're cheating, doesn't it, Rick? I mean, you can see everything. I think when you're up in the box, it, in some ways and emotionally, it detaches you from it, that you'll see the entire field and you'll be more objective in what you're looking at. Sometimes on the sideline, if you're not careful, you'll get so caught up into the emotions of the game, and you'll call it off emotions, and you'll miss things that when you look back on a Saturday that you really wish you would have seen, or you wish that people in the box would have been able to relay that information to you. So if you are on the sideline, you're really, really trusting the information that you have from the box, not only that it's accurate, but that they know exactly what you want in a manner in which you can use it. And I think that takes, a very dedicated, detailed staff to be able to put that together.
Coach, do you rehearse this with your coaches in the off season? Is that like, if I was one of these coaches, if you hired me as a box coach or a sideline coach, or if I was lucky enough to be your offense coordinator, would we come in the spring and you'd put us in a room and we would do this as a dress rehearsal? How do you train all these coaches' eyes and train them in their jobs?
No, we absolutely do. First of all, we do it in practice during spring ball. There'll be days that we'll treat it just like a game. We've got coaches in the box, coaches on the sideline. We've got headsets, and we'll go through it. And, we'll chart out, do scrimmages, do game situations, and then, we'll evaluate, and it lets me kind of show them, okay, this was awesome, Rick, how you did this. But, hey, remember, you're sitting here talking over the coach who asked the question. So many times it's getting everybody to understand exactly what the communication plan is, not only what you're doing, but when you're allowed to even talk about it. And Rick, you make a great point, is how do you work it? You've got to build that up. We're so fortunate, Rick, that we get to have spring football in Texas. So we can start those things. If you don't, I would definitely build in days. I mean, I know everybody scrimmages in fall football, and building that in. And then before that, sitting them down and showing them exactly what they should be looking at on the football field.
Yes. In California, we have spring practice, but not spring ball. And when I was some of the smaller schools I coached at, coaches for listening out there, because I know your situations. You got states like Massachusetts where they have a no contact from the last game in November until first day of August. There's no contact with the players, which is, I really don't understand that rule, but it's their state rule. I bring those coaches I was a biology teacher when I was a head coach. I'd bring my coaches into the classroom. I'd put a film up on the whiteboard. Back then it was DSV and Apex. Huddle wasn't invented yet. And I'd run a play and we would, every coach would talk or write as if it was a game. And what we had to learn, it was not easy, right? Because us coaches are all A-type personalities, was trying to get the coaches to understand, okay, listen, we just ran that play. Only one person can be talking in this headset. The rest of you guys are writing and observing. And we'd go through it. And sometimes it was humorous and sometimes it wasn't so humorous, because I'm like, gosh, dang it, Coach Smith, you got to quit talking. We just ran that play. Coach Jones is supposed to be giving us the down and distance, but you keep opening your mouth too early. And Coach, we would be in a classroom, just my biology classroom, when we rehearsed it. And Coach, I'd probably say it took me 5 or 6 years in my head coaching career before I did start treating our scrimmages. We had an inter squad scrimmage, and then the next week we played another team in a scrimmage. We broke those headsets out and we treated it like a game. If nothing else, I found out that, hey, headset number 7 is not working. We got to ship this thing back off and get it reconditioned. For those coaches out there that, if you're not at a 5A level like Coach, I don't care how you do it. Maybe you do it at the local bar around the pool table, but you need to rehearse this. If there's something I can tell you from a coach who's made that mistake, you have to rehearse this. Otherwise, you're going to have 7 grown men all telling you what the next play call is in that headset. And you're going to lead your league in delay of game penalties.
There is no doubt. But it just goes back to me. We all know this. If you want to get better at something, have a plan and work that plan. We know that, but then we don't do it. We get in the game and then we wonder why nobody knows who's supposed to be talking and where their eyes are supposed to be. You have to have a plan, communicate it, and work it. And so that's how we do it. We have during the series, and then we obviously, the other piece of it is, what are you going to do in between series? We're blessed that our coaches just work one side of the football, and so again, however you break it down, just having, how are you going to communicate adjustments with your kids? How are you going to discuss your situational plan? Who's going to do that? Who's working on scripting ideas for the next series? How about your third down ideas? And adjustments. Who's getting all this information to your play card? Who's reviewing the information from the box to making sure that what the kids are about to hear is accurate and what everybody wants them to hear. There's so many of these little things that you have to go through. For us, we're really big on, we're scripting the next series. We're looking at our game plan. We're looking at what, this is our game plan. This is what we said was going to be good. What's new? What's different? Is a player hurt? Do we have an injury on our side? Do they have one? Is there a matchup that we thought we could win? We can't. What's been working? What hasn't been working? Do we stay with the game plan? Do we change? Do we cut? Those are the things that we're constantly evaluating on the sideline.
Awesome. Coach, let's get into this. Here we go. The next slide. I was going to tell you that, I'm really excited here about this vertical option RPO. And I think you had told me you were going to share one run concept with us to kind of give us a snapshot of your offensive philosophy. Coaches, this podcast and thing, Coach is not taking you through his offense, the X's and O's. This is the philosophy of the offense. So he's going to use one run concept and one passing concept to as examples to give you the overall vision and his offensive philosophy.
Well, right here, I'm just kind of going to start with the inside zone. But, one of our base ways of doing is what we call zone insert. So you have a zone pushing one way. And imagine you're an 11 personnel group. You've got your H-back or tight end to the front side of the zone, and then he's going to wrap for the backside linebacker. I think a lot of people have done versions of it. The thing we love about this play is the flexibility of this play. Once you teach that inside zone wrap scheme, you can insert to the Mike backer. You can kick the end and make it split flow zone. You can make it zone read and release the tackle to the Mike and wrap around for the alley. You could trap the nose guard. You could trap the end. You could trap either linebacker, and your offensive line is just making very minimum adjustments for you to be able to adjust the matchups that fit your offense. So for us, the zone insert scheme is something that you're going to get every single week. The other thing that we love about the play, you get lots and lots of movement for defensive people to have to see. You think about it, you've got zone one direction with a split flow key heading back the other direction most of the time. We think that not only is this great run action, it's outstanding play action. So when we're throwing the ball off of our vertical game, many, many times we're doing all of our RPO vertical game off of this six-man run concept. We also use the exact same concept with five-man by RPO and the guy that we would have been ISOing. That's been very, very effective for us. On this slide, you can see, for instance, I even label, hey, here's the RPO read, for instance. You've got three wide receivers, two to the field. You've got your basic quick game, whether it be a hitch, a slant into the boundary, and then you've got any version of two-man game to the field that you want. I will say this, when we're throwing our RPO game, we can read any stand-up defender on the field with this play. For instance, the one that we're looking at right now, you have your two-man screen game to the field. You're reading the field outside linebacker, Sam, whatever you call him. And, if he's going to add to the box and be the seventh hat, then we're going to throw the screen game outside. If he's going to play with width, then we're going to run the ball vertically. The thing I love about this play, we could have put the tight end on the front side, the back side. We could have put the running back on either side or pistol. We could have run this with the quarterback or the running back. We could have had motion. Doesn't matter. The play is incredibly flexible with personnel groups and by formation. That's why it's one of our very favorite plays. And then, of course, all the different RPO components off of it and the play action concepts that tie to it make it a very effective play every week.
Coach, if I'm hearing you, it sounds like it's what I have referred to in the past as this is a vertical philosophy. Now I know that I don't want to confuse the coaches out there because his offense is his passing concept to verse that as a vertical option. What I mean by this is a vertical philosophy in the run game versus horizontal. If you're a horizontal playbook, that means you're running lots and lots of plays. You have 14, 15, 16 run plays. And so you're very horizontally, right? Because you've got plays 1 through 14. What I'm hearing from Coach here, this is a vertical concept where he's taking one run concept, in this case, the zone insert, and he's going vertical with it conceptually by making several blocking variations. He's taking one run concept, the zone insert, and turning it into theory, several different plays with just some simple blocking tags. So you're taking one run concept and philosophically turning it into 7 or 8 different running plays, but your kids don't think it's 8 running plays. This is one concept to them. But the poor defensive coordinator that's game planning, he's going to draw up 8 different run plays. Am I close? Am I close to that?
That's exactly right, Rick. And not only are they going to see different angles and different matchups up front, but we can give it. Obviously we can dress it up in the backfield many different ways.
Yeah, awesome. What I always say, Coach, people say, what's your goal as an offensive coordinator? And I always tell them at the Glazier clinics, my goal is to make sure the defensive coordinator doesn't sleep that week.
That's exactly right. Well, what we're always looking for, we want that moment where the kid does exactly what he was coached to do and he's wrong.
Yes.
That's what we're looking for, much like the wing tee, right, Rick?
Yep.
And we're doing really the same thing. We have the ability to trap really anybody on the football field, whether they have their hand down or standing up with that play. And so we're looking at matchups and we're trying to make sure that we have the best angle and the best matchup to vertically, attack those people. But we can do it with different, a lot of different personnel groups, formations, angles, different presentations in the backfield. But for the offensive line, it's really zone right and zone left. Just changing where we're going to cut the zone, really. And then the next slide, we talk a little bit about the RPO. And we're seeing high school football teams, it started out, a lot of people were having a lot of success with it. And, now you look at it, Rick, and really you're starting to see a lot of high school teams moving away from it. I think one of the main reasons is that they, instead of having an RPO offense, they tried to turn it into a multi-read quick passing game while you're not blocking somebody in the box. The thing about you can be simple or you can be complex. If you're going to be complex, probably in high school football, you're going to have a lot of things go wrong. And we look at the teams that, that are very, very efficient and effective in the RPO schemes, really, whether you're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, Alabama, people don't think of Alabama as being an RPO team, but they lived on it last year. Tennessee, some of the better teams, obviously Ole Miss, Arkansas, and like I said, even Kansas City in the NFL. And then you look at the better high school teams, the things that you're going to see is they're looking for efficient, effective, and simple ways to implement their RPO system into what they're doing. And we're big on, we drill everything. We don't just run plays. We're going to break it down and make sure that our quarterbacks, receivers, and running backs are getting every look that they could possibly get, and then honing in on the ones that we think we're going to get that week. So, we may not have, we're not going to have 8 or 9 different RPO reads. We're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 ways to attack the guys with the matchups that we feel that we need, a couple of ways to work their plan Bs, and that's our RPO schemes. And that's really kind of the magic to our system. This drill that I have up, we have an RPO drill and it's just mesh and screen blocking. So you're getting all your perimeter blocking, working the technical component of that, as well as the assignment piece. And you can work it out, all of your formations and motions like we talked about. But you're teaching your quarterbacks RPO reads and timing. You're teaching your wide receivers the perimeter blocking and timing and the different looks. And then, of course, teaching the running backs the mesh footwork and the timing. And, you can have it all laid out. You can work it off of the hashes. You can work it field boundary. You can work different field zone as well. And then, we're always big on anytime we're going to talk about what we should be getting in a drill, we're always going to address the common mistakes, right? And, the thing I love about this drill, and being able to drill the RPOs the way we do in our system is it really lets them feel like that when they get that rep in team, they've already had that exact rep, 15, 20, 30 times before they get to it.
Coach, so the podcast listener can't see this drawing. Hey, you podcast listeners, make sure that in the show notes, we'll have a link to some of these slides coaches are making, because this is very impressive. He's got it very well thought out. He's got his quarterbacks in groups so that there's more than one quarterback going at one time. So again, maximum reps, efficient times. So he's got a quarterback, a running back, a slot receiver, and a wide receiver on the left, working some sort of RPO there, and that quarterback's getting good at that read. And then he's got another set of quarterback, running back, slot receiver on the right side, making his read over there. Hey, Coach, I shared the story with you that nobody ever can believe my story, how I live in California, but I get to go coach in Pennsylvania. And it's definitely made me a better coach, because I'm coaching really small school ball out there. It's 2A ball. We're suiting up about 50, 60 kids. A bunch of them are freshmen. So I'm just going to throw this out there, Coach. If you had a small roster, for some reason you had to go drop down and you were coaching 2A ball in Texas, would you just focus on one side, or would you have like your varsity working the left hash and maybe your JV, your younger kids working the right hash? What would you do to get multiple reps if you only were suiting up 50, 60 kids?
Oh, Rick, what a great question. The thing I love about this drill, it can be a half line. So maybe you just have, for many of us that have been at small schools, and Rick, my first job, we had 60 kids in the program, and we were running the wishbone, and I learned half line football, doing that. And, here I am, I've coached at schools with, 2,700 kids in them, and we had 300 kids in football. And guess what we did? We found ways to go back to those half line concepts and how we practice. I'm a believer in it, of breaking it down and making it simple. I want it to be really, really easy to be good. And I think teaching half line helps the coaches and your kids. So on this drill that we're looking at, you could do it several ways. You could have, like you just said, you've got a right side and a left side of your varsity with all of the scout team guys on the other side. Or like what we do, Rick, one side is the varsity, the other side's the JV.
Yep.
For us, or if you're a smaller school, you're just working one side. So we'd start the ball on the left hash. And so they would be working to the field. Then the ball would move to the middle. Then the ball would move to the right hash. Now they've worked the boundary. Then they all flip over. And now they're on the left. Now they're working the field. Now they're working the ball in the middle. Now the ball goes to the left hash, and they've worked into the boundary. And so that's exactly this ball. Like this is drawn up on the left hash. It would have moved to the middle, to the right, and then they all would have flipped, and we would have gone right back. We'll do that for 15 minutes early in the season, goes to 10 probably later on. And Rick, we can fly. The kids understand the drill. Everybody understands exactly where they're supposed to be. They understand the common mistakes, the coaching points, the purpose of the drill. And I think it's one reason that we've been so effective in the RPO game.
Coaches, you young coaches out there, which, Coach and I were young back in the day. Let me tell you something. If there's a gold nugget you can take away from this is half lines and pod work. Getting kids into small groups, they learn better. It breaks the learning down. Don't just throw them in 11 on 11 all the time. But Coach is so right about the efficiency that the wishbone half line stuff in wing T. Even when I was at big schools and I suited up 220 kids one year at a school in California, we still did the half line stuff, because when I'm going half line, I'm going to run 3 plays a minute. Our kids know how to rotate, and it is not hard for me to run 36 plays in a 10-minute period in a half line setting. It's a little bit challenging to run 36 plays in an 11 on 11 setting. And I Coach, would you agree? I think there's definitely a time and a place for 11-11. You've got to simulate the game. But when you're teaching, the more things you could break down into small pods, like 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4, a half line, that half line passing drill Coach is doing, it's basically his 2 receivers versus his 2 DBs. And he's breaking that down. He's making it very clear for his quarterback's read. So He doesn't have a bunch of D-line and linebackers introduced to the quarterbacks yet. The quarterback's vision is, hey, look, we only got 3 DBs over there. Who's your read? Let's get good at this. Coach, you young coaches out there, and I made that mistake. I told you I was that coach, put the ball at the 50-yard line and ran scrimmage for an hour and then broke for water and we switched to defense. I'll never go back to that ever. I don't care if I'm suiting up 20 kids. We're going to be doing pod work and half line.
No, absolutely. Well, it's funny, Rick, you go to your better high schools, that's what you're doing. You go to colleges and guess what they're doing? Go watch an NFL practice. Even in the NFL, it's 1-on-1s, 2-on-2s, then half line, then pods, then 7-on-7s turns into 2-on-2s, turns into half line. You know, we're always looking for a simpler way to teach and coach, right?
Yep.
And it makes sense. You know, So that's how we do it in this. And then, of course, you get it to your offensive line. Well, if you're going to be a zone football team, then you have to be able to work zone combos. You know, and this is our base way. And it's, Rick, it's what you just said. It's all about pods. So, you know, we'll usually break it up and we'll have, you know, a group of 2 offensive linemen with 2 defensive people. You know, the linebacker is behind them. He could have a shield. We'll start out and we'll just stack him. And so you might be like your right guard and right tackle on the left. You know, maybe it's your left guard and left tackle on the left side. Then you've got a center and a guard. You know, however you want to break that up. And then all they're doing is working covered and uncovered zone combos. So the coach is standing behind the offensive line. He's actively pointing and just showing them, hey, defensive line, you're left, linebacker, you're right. D-line, you're right, linebacker, you're left. Maybe you're both left. Maybe they're dropping out. You know, whatever you're going to see that week, he's standing right behind them, and then it's like set hut or whatever your cadence is. One thing I would say in that drill, if your center's going, always have your center snap the football. You know, so we definitely are always making all of our centers snapping the ball every time. Now, while they're doing that and they're working their zone combos, you're going to, all the kids that aren't in the drill, they're all in a line, and then they're going to take their first 2 steps. So, you know, like if I'm the backup left tackle and I'm not in the drill, then I'm 5 yards behind that tackle. And when he takes his first 2 steps in the zone, I take my first 2 steps in the zone, and I am pointing to my work. You know, we always tell our kids, if you only get better when you do the drill, we're not going to be very good. You know, you have to be able to take not just physical reps, you have to be able to take mental reps to be a great player. And so if you notice all of our drill work that we do, Rick, like you talked about, it's pods and half lines, all of the kids that are out of the drill, they have a coaching assignment. So they're in it, they're taking steps, they're taking footwork, they're coaching each other, they're working together. We tell them that if you're the second or third group, you ought to be perfect. You know, because you've seen everything they could possibly do wrong, right, Rick?
Yep.
And, you know, we're not big yellers and screamers. We tell our kids, you know, go out there and go make mistakes, go make them fast, but just make new ones, right? Don't go make one that somebody else has already made. And, you know, our big rule, and Lovejoy, wherever I go, you know, I tell them I can handle mistakes, but I will not tolerate mental or physical laziness. And physically lazy, everybody knows what that is. We all have a standard of practice that they have to uphold. Being mentally lazy is when you're on the field for an hour and 45 minutes, there's no mental breaks. There's not one. So when you're on there and you have to own not only your learning, you have to own the coaching of your teammates. And so you're responsible for all the coaching that is being given to your position. But, you know, I think by breaking down your drills into this type of group work, you know, you effectively can teach these zone combos, but you can get everybody getting eyes and footwork, not just when they go, but if you're doing it 15 minutes, I don't know about you, Rick, I want them to be getting better for 15 minutes, not for the 7 reps they got to go.
Well, what I'm hearing here, Coach, is he's talking specifically as a line example. But if you're the running back coach, wide receiver coach, defensive coach, you know, here's some things. Your bag holder has to be coaching. I always tell in my practice, I want to hear all the bag holders talking. And so not only are they getting better and they're mentally staying in, but it's that whole thing about building a culture of we're going to help our teammates. If you've got an upperclassman like a senior holding a bag and there's a sophomore hit that's supposed to be blocking the bag, or if it's whatever position it is, Now that senior, you're empowering him with some small leadership skills, and so everybody's holding a bag. We make them coach, and I love Coach. I just took a gold nugget from you. Sometimes I don't have enough bags, so I might have like 3 kids. It's an odd number, so I have a kid standing out because I don't have enough to get another going. Well, that kid standing out, whatever position he is, I love that, Coach. He's still doing the footwork of that drill. Mm-hmm. So when he jumps in to hit that bag or to guard that wide receiver or to attack that cone, whatever position he is, he's already done the footwork mentally, vicariously, while he was sitting out waiting to rotate back in. Coach, a classic example, what I'm thinking is the 5-man sled. When you're on the offensive line, you're doing your sled drill. You only got 5 guys hitting the bag, but sometimes you're 3 or 4 lines deep, right? Because you have maybe 10, 15 offensive linemen. Well, all those kids standing in line before they hit the bag, they should all be doing their footwork. Mm-hmm. I love it, Coach. I love it.
Yeah. And Rick, like let's say we call, 5 ice, which is a play for us. That's what we're talking about, the split ISO. So like say I signal the play, they're all, they're going to be, we're up at the 5-man sled. So I'm saying 5 ice. All of them are saying, hey, odd. Here's my zone combo. They're all pointing. Everybody's saying, hey, we're working together. Deuce. They're calling out the combo. All of them, every kid, not just the ones that are about to go, everybody in the line. And then boom, and then they'll do it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then we rotate. They're in, they're out, they're up. So that the one group is going, but everybody else mentally they're having to talk and make sure that both of them understand their assignment, who's covered, uncovered, what our zone is, where we're pushing it to, and then they're taking their first. We tell them if you don't have to hit the sled, then your footwork should be perfect, absolutely perfect. And so we're making them do it, like you're talking about. By the time they get up there, Rick, if you were 3rd in line, man, you've already done the footwork 6 times.
Yep.
Before then, now you're adding the sled. I definitely think if you're not doing that, you're wasting time.
Yep.
Now, the next thing, just getting into just the component of the zone ISO and what your zones are, like we're just like most everybody, on the front side of your zone, if we're playing an even front, you really are going to end up with 2 solo or drive blocks. We're looking to get the combo or the double on that G if we can. We're going to double him to the front side linebacker, and then you're wrapping your tight end to the first backside linebacker. Here's the deal. The key block on this play really is that backside block. The thing that we love about this play is like if that guy want to take the B gap, then now what's the tight end going to do? He's going to wrap around him. If that defensive end is going to be a vertical pass rusher, that ball's going to insert vertically immediately. The thing that we also like about this play, obviously it'd be very, very easy to take your tackle and take him to the linebacker and now take the tight end and just kick it out. I've changed one guy. And I completely changed the matchup for the team. On this exact same play, those of you that can look at it, you could have just as easily taken the center to the mic, the left guard to the boundary inside backer, and taken the tight end and trapped the nickel or the nose. And we still are running basically the exact same football play. So we feel like, we can trap a tackle, the end, the linebacker. We could wrap it and read it. We'll take that same tight end and take him straight out into the flat. And instead of blocking the linebacker, we'll read it. We can also run bluff where we'll take him right at the backer and slide him right up the seam. So we could read him vertically, horizontally. We could run zone read off of this exact same play and have quarterback run off of it. We could put the back on either side. We could put the tight end on either side. I mean, it's just a very, very flexible football play for us. A lot of people run versions of it. For us, this isn't a play we're going to rep 3 or 4 times. This is a play that we're going to have multiple ways to carry this into a game plan.
For you podcast listeners, he's running inside zone to the left at an even front. So he's running it at the one tech. Okay. He's running it away from the 3 tech. His tight end, he's got him slotted back. Some people call it an H back or sniffer back. And so his variations are this H back or sniffer back comes across the formation. The H back's on the right, the opposite side of the zone. He could come in and wrap through the play side B gap up on the backer, and the tackle kicks out the 5 tech, and you're doubling the nose to the mic. But what he's saying is he could send that left tackle to the inside backer, and the tight end comes across the formation, kicks out the 5 tech, or the tight end can come across and kick out the 1 tech. He's just really trying to explain how he's taking an inside zone drawing, which is a typical inside zone play with a H back inserting to the left. And then with 4 or 5 blocking variations, he's turned it into mini plays. But Coach, if I went to your school and asked your kids would just say, this is just zone ISO right.
That's exactly right. For our offensive linemen, they just know, hey, what all are we going to run on ice this week? For them, they know. The thing is, Rick, let's say we don't have that tight end in the drawing. You think, okay, who's going to block that boundary linebacker? Well, we'd be reading him. Yep. We could run the exact same scheme, and we could take that tight end vertically. We could take him and bluff him right by that linebacker up the seam, or we could take him across the formation into the flat and still read the exact same player.
Yep. Awesome. Now, Coach, how those variations for your linemen? So then is it tagged? You just add tags?
Yes, that's exactly right. So we call the play, so we could call ice and call bluff or Bama or, whatever you wanted to say, streak, and then we could tag it with a run tag, or we could tag it with an RPO tag. Okay. We could also use this exact same blocking scheme as our play action. So we will do that as well. So just like a lot of coaches take one passing concept and tag it multiple ways, so one passing concept becomes several passing plays. Exactly. You're doing the same philosophy in your run game. You're taking one run concept, tagging it so that it becomes 7 or 8 run plays. That's exactly right. Okay. Hey, you guys listen to the podcast, man. I hope you're taking some mental notes, man. There's some gold nuggets being dropped tonight, baby. Well, now let me see here. Now I've just got the exact same thing drawn back up to a 3 technique. The thing that we love about it for our offensive line, they don't really care. It's not a big deal. And the way our system works, Rick, there's really just 2 defenses in football. You either have a nose guard or you don't. If you have a nose guard, then you're odd, and that sets our zones. If you don't have a nose guard and it's even, then our zones are set off of that. We don't get into, it used to be, hey, they're odd or they're even, or, anymore, everybody just runs a yes defense. Yes, they run this, and yes, they run that. And so you better have a system where you can adjust to it. So, we don't necessarily, try to call it to the 3 or the G. We're a tempo offense, and we're going to set the zone and snap the football. And Coach, I'm going to state the obvious. These tags in the run game could be sent in from the sideline, or if you have a pretty high IQ quarterback that year, sometimes you put those tags in the quarterback's hands where he'll audible the tag at the line of scrimmage. So you can do it both ways. You could send the tag in from the sideline or let the quarterback do a check with me. Absolutely. And no different than a wishbone team, Rick. We could check, right or left. You could check it. Hey, if the 3 technique, if we get the 3 to the right, we want this. If we get the 3 to the left, we want that. It could be based off of coverage. Hey, we get 1 high, then we want to automatically tag that with the vertical. That's going to turn into the bluff. Hey, they're giving us a 2 high roll to the field. That should be bluff into the boundary. Now we're going to wrap him all the way. He's going to go by that linebacker and straight into the flat, for instance. So yes, we can do it both ways. So we could just call the play, or we could be checking the tag. And so much of that is game plan. And since we don't do a ton of different run plays, it makes it really, really easy for us to add variations and give our quarterbacks some authority over how we're going to read the play. Awesome. Now, a little bit about, just our vertical passing game, and we do throw the ball a lot. If you saw, our stats, we talked a little bit about that. We've been very balanced. This year I think we were almost 50-50 run to pass. I will say this, though, we had 3 games this year where we threw over 300 yards at halftime. So, we've been very effective and efficient in the passing game. So how do we attack a defense vertically? There's really 3 ways that we're looking to do that. The first off, obviously, is create the one-on-ones when the defense thinks there's help. We can do this by formations, by occupy routes, and by motions. I will say this, something we did this year, Rick, that I think is going to be, you're going to see it more and more in football. We did a lot of compressed sets.
Yes.
A lot. And I will say this, that, that's coming in football. We are primarily, we run very, very wide splits, but this year we had a lot, it gave us some variations on what we've been doing, very simple for our kids, but you would see us compressed on both sides, or maybe we had our wide splits one side and compressed on the other. Maybe we started compressed and then motioned in and out of it, but it was very effective for us and then limited learning for our kids.
Coach, in our pistol wing tee system, that's been my latest evolution. I went through an evolution of, I went to pistol just so I could throw the ball because, Coach, I don't know what the definition of 50-50 was. I was that coach that threw 4 passes a game and 3 were in warmups. And so I went to pistol to throw the ball. And then I evolved the pistol into, I always had an unblocked defender in the run game. So really we were running a bunch of double option principles. I call them RROs. Coach, man, you hit it nail on the head. I just hung out with my son this morning and we're going into this next season and we're going to work with our line splits, our smart splits and compressed splits, and coach compressed bunch sets. In the wing tee, we really have to get that gap down backer concept because really the philosophy of the wing tee is create a wall and kick out. Well, I'm going to do that from like a compressed bunch set on each side of the tackle. I might have a compressed bunch set 3 feet from the tackle. And now I've got 3 blockers doing the gap down backer thing. And I'm really excited about that. And then how's the defense going to guard it? And then I run a bunch of run plays out of, then all of a sudden I send 30 receivers out like a bunch of Chinese bandits and they don't know who the bank robber is. And there's my receiver run downfield wide open. Coach, I totally agree with you. And you know what? I usually don't give the NFL credit because I don't think it's apples to apples. But I think what the Rams and the Chiefs and the Bills, some of these guys are doing with even the Raiders this year with how they got Darren Waller and Renfro open. They get in those compressed sets and it's tough to defend. Coach, I don't know how you feel. I think high school defenses really struggle with tight ends and fullbacks going out into the passing game. It seems like they're never covered. Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not. And here's the deal. They're not in high school. Watch NFL. I mean, it was the exact same thing. You mentioned some of the best offenses in football right now are finding ways to use some of these compressed sets.
Yep.
And you're doing it, look at the Ravens. They're, obviously not a team, but they're very efficient and, by obviously quarterback run, but their tight ends are catching footballs everywhere. And they do a tremendous job of it as well. But I definitely think, and it really is, it's all just block down and kick out, But what I love for us is we're adding gaps. I could be in 10 personnel, but you're having to defend 12 personnel gaps.
Yes.
I've got 4 wide receivers on the football field that are excellent pass catchers and effective blockers. And so how are you going to match that? Are you going to play zone and play coverage? Are you going to come down and play run? And this, if they're playing man or man one and you're in compressed situations, oh my goodness, everything is going to be open. They almost have to zone off. And now your run game, it makes it really, really easy to build some of these matchups into your game plan.
You coaches out there, I get asked this a lot, especially at the Glazier clinics. They say, Coach, I love your talk, but what if I don't have a tight end? And I say, you know what, then create the illusion of a tight end with your formation, which was what Coach is talking about. Bring your 2 slots in and press them down so they're kind of acting the same as a double tight end set. Because I know back in the day, I remember they used to call it the old Bama set, the A set, where you had 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, and 1 running back behind the quarterback. That was such a tough defense to defend in the run game because there was so many gaps you didn't have enough defenders to fit all those gaps. And so what coach is talking about with these compressed sets, coaches, you're out there listening, man, I would look into this, because whether you have a tight end or not, create the illusion of a tight end, because coach is right. Now, all of a sudden, you've created 8 run gaps that the defense has to account for all those run gaps when you run these compressed sets. I love it, coach. I love it.
Well, and the thing about it, Rick, like you were talking about, let's say bunch, for instance, what you've effectively done is made an unbalanced run formation, but a balanced passing formation. Because since you're compressed, you can cross the football immediately. And it's so easy to bring people back in quick motion or just across the field vertically in the passing game. It's been very good for us. But, so when we talk about creating these one-on-ones, to get the ball vertical, that's by formation and by motion. That's been excellent for us. The next way we do it is by creating confusion between defenders. We're really big on vertical switch routes that have option routes built into them, motions and shifts, and then stacks. I don't think enough, high school coaches don't use stack formations enough. Not only lining up in your stacks, motioning in and out. When you think about it, Rick, and you're playing that guy and you line up in stack twins, well, what most defenses do, they have their base call they do when you come out into the stack. They adjust. Oh my God, okay, get out of that, and now we got to get into stack. Well, then you motion out of stack. Now what are they? It's so easy for us to do that. We can move a guy 10 inches and change the call. And for our kids, it's simple. So, creating confusion between defenders by vertical switch routes, motions and shifts, stacks and bunch. It's easy for us and hard for them. And anytime we can say easy for us and hard for them, I probably are going to like it, Rick. And then, of course, double moves. Again, if you're going to throw all the screen game, then I think you have to be outstanding at all the screening goes. We see so many of these RPO teams, and they'll throw the screen game, and they never throw all the and goes off of it. So whatever version you have, whether you're a bubble guy or a slant it doesn't really matter. You need to be able to have what I call the and goes off of all of those to be able to take advantage of them overplaying some of your quick game concepts. Now, probably, just one example that we have that, everybody runs some version of a smash route, and I think we all get this. So imagine, you've got 2x2 and we're going to throw smash, so your outside guys, for ours, they're going to run 5 yards, shut it down. If they're open, they sit. If they're covered, then they have the rule of working back inside till they're uncovered. So they are moving and they are an option on this play. Probably where we're a little bit different, one of those post routes or smash routes is going to be one of our vertical option routes. So, for instance, let's say we line up in 2x2 and we give the field the vertical option. Well, he has certain rules on his route. So for this instance, he's going to be hard through 12. And then after he's hard through 12, he has his rule. And on his rule, he can take a corner route, he can take a post route, or he can shut it down right there and it turns into a curl. Say on the backside, they're just running the smash. So just like earlier, Coach, he talked about, could the quarterback, could he flip this? Could he change? Absolutely could. So this might have been called to the field. It might have been called to the boundary. We may have said, hey, we want to run the vertical option route at whoever Rick Stewart is covering. It could be that simple, right? And so, when we talk about having just the vertical option routes, they're not all just straight line go routes. So this has been a concept that has been outstanding for us. We will do it off of play action. We'll do it off of 10, 11, and 12 personnel groups. And then as you see, in the, those of you who watch this, the bottom one is drawn up in a condensed set. It was an excellent way of running this play. So this would start out, for instance, and maybe we're going to run the vertical option is to the field. So that means the boundary would be locked with a quick out and a corner route. And so now your inside receiver to the field, he can take the post, he can take it vertical, he can take the corner route, or he can shut it down. And then, of course, the outside guy outside of him has got a quick out. Well, you use your imagination, Rick. How many different ways could we have lined up and run that exact same play?
Exactly.
I could have started on, that could have started out bunch left and gone jet motion to a quick out. That could have gone bunch right and got jet motion into the boundary and run the exact same play. That could have been two back. I could have motioned to empty. There could have been a tight end or no tight end, and then we tell our receivers, what if I told you get to run 12 yards and get open? Do you think they'll cover you? Well, a good receiver is going to tell you there's no way I'm going to get covered.
Right.
And that's kind of how we sell it to them.
For you podcast listeners, what Coach did is took the classic smash concept, with the two number ones wide and two slot receivers, classic smash concept. What he's done is he's brought these guys in, and Coach, you can jump in here in a second. He's taken his two receivers and brought them in 3 or 4 feet from each tackle, from the left tackle and right tackle. They're still standing up. They're only a couple feet from the tackle. And those stand-up guys that are just a couple feet from the tackle, they are now running the post corner if they're on the smash side. And, of course, if they're on the other side, they run the vertical option. And then his quote-unquote slots now became wings because they're just a little bit outside the stand-up condensed receiver. So if you're thinking, think wing T for a second, Coach has now turned his slot guys into wings. And instead of running the 5-yard hitches, because they're not wide enough to run 5-yard hitches, the way they get to the flats is they're running speed out. Some people call them arrow routes. Did I describe that accurately for the podcast listener that's driving this car, Coach?
Absolutely. Much better than I did, Rick. And, that's exactly right. So if you had it a wide, twins, your outside guys running your 5-yard sit, your inside guys got the vertical option. But, out of the compressed set, Rick, it was outstanding for us. The thing I loved about it, you could change the formation 1,000 different ways. So defensively, you're having to work all of the different concepts you could get out of your 2x2 wide, but then you turn around and you go 2x2 compressed. Our quarterback, it's the identical read. We didn't change anything for him, but defensively, we changed everything. And the biggest thing that we saw, Rick, is it changed the leverage of the defensive backs. So while they may feel confident about playing a receiver line 3 yards outside the hash, a lot of them really struggled when that guy was under 2 yards from the tackle and now had leverage on their shoulder. So, and then you think about what it did for the throw for the quarterback. That's a much shorter throw to push the ball vertically down the football field.
Love it. Love it. And then coaches, if you are blessed and your stand-up guy's got a little size to him and he's spinning the weight from a little bit, where he could maybe down block that defensive end or go get an inside backer. He's not a skinny lettuce eater type guy. Once in a while we're blessed with a guy that can run routes, but he's got a little muscle to him. But man, now you just put so much pressure on the defense because in this compressed set, oh shoot, coach might run the ball. Like if you got the edge and that compressed receiver and that wing could hook those two perimeter guys, jet sweep all day long. So
absolutely.
Coach, my little old wing T mind is going crazy right now, Coach. I'm loving this.
No, it's funny, Coach, you're looking at that compressed set for us was our most efficient run set this year. And, we used 13 personnel, 12 personnel, 11, 10. We could get in 10 personnel and be 5 wide, and then the very next play being this compressed and running the ball vertically at you. And we didn't have to change any personnel. And, when you're double teaming linebackers and DBs, we felt like our guys could do that. So it's been a very, very effective wrinkle for us.
So, Coach, I'm assuming maybe you're going to hit on it, but do you want to use this concept? There's another slide coming where you can just overall explain to us this concept of what you call the vertical option offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you said, we're taking a traditional smash route. And, a lot of people have run it where you're going to run that corner route and you're just hoping you have leverage. And maybe you're telling the quarterback, well, if it's not there, then you're going to go to the backside and you're reading it across the football field. And, we're not going to do that. We're going to high-low one side, and that quarterback knows, hey, if I get the quick out, I'm going to take it. If that corner takes that away, then now he's got a vertical option route where he is hard through 12 and reading the leverage of the defensive back. And so if he can, he has the ability to take the post. to run the corner or shut it down based on the reads and how we've drilled that for him that week. We have a drill where we're literally just running this play over and over and over and showing them, hey, here's cover 4, here's cover 2, here's cover 3, here's man 1. Not necessarily that they necessarily care exactly what coverage that is, but when this guy is playing them with this leverage, this is what they're going to run. And then we always, when in doubt, you are going to do this on every one of those looks. We give them exactly what that when in doubt is. And, we have, probably about 5 vertical option routes that we use. This one's been very effective, but you would be shocked, Rick, if you saw our, again, we're, 4 years in a row, we've been right at 50 points a game or more. And like, if you knew how few plays we actually run, it would blow you away. We just have different ways of adding variance to the things we're doing, and we go out there and get 1 million reps at them and throw the ball.
Awesome. Is that kind of wrapping it up, Coach?
It really is.
Coach, I've lost track of time, Coach. Hey, this has been over an hour. So yeah, let's kind of wrap this up. And the podcast listener, he had quite a drive ahead of him because we covered a lot of stuff here. So let's kind of wrap up this whole philosophy and we'll talk about where coaches can how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I think anytime you're talking about a system of offense, and that's really what it is, Rick, like what you do. It's not a collection of plays. It's a system. You have answers built in. You have communication plans, and you understand how to practice and execute what you do. And I think for the young coaches, that's what they need to understand. Don't think in terms of plays. Think in terms of a system. And the first thing you need to look at is what can you coach at an expert level? And then what can your team execute? And then how are you going to practice it? Those are the 3 things that we should always be looking at as offensive coaches. Have a plan. It's players, not plays, and keep it simple. And that's in a nutshell, I think, what we do with our system. And I think really any effective, efficient system in moving the football, that's really how you summarize it.
Awesome. Coach, if you wouldn't mind, put your contact information back up. Podcast listeners will read it off to you. If you want to get a hold of Coach Ross, is the head coach at Lovejoy High School in Texas. His cell phone is 512-638-3102, 512-638-3102. And his Gmail is pretty easy. Chris.Ross Clinics. Ross Clinics is all one word, chris.rossclinics@gmail.com. And Coach, we really appreciate you. If you can unshare your screen, we'll kind of thank everybody. Coach, if guys want more, you've mentioned a couple of times about coming out to your spring ball. I know you and I are going to be up in San Francisco in a couple of weeks, but a lot of these listeners are going to probably listen to this after the San Francisco clinic. I know you and I have talked about you joining the All Access family, and I'm going to come out to Texas and spend a couple of days with you. We'll get all this on video and really, I think what was exciting to you, if I heard at Boston, was at this point in your career, kind of leaving your legacy, maybe get a book published, and we'll get it all up on our website and get stuff out there so coaches can learn more. But coaches, we're filming this in February of 2022. We're probably 6 or 7 months before having Coach published, where you guys can really dive in. So if they're listening to this before we get you published, Coach, they can see you in San Francisco in 2 weeks at the Glazier Clinic. What else you got out there, Coach?
Well, I appreciate that. And Rick, kind of what you said, everything that I know, heck, I learned because somebody spent some time with me and helped me. And I don't know about you, Rick. I remember going to those the Glazier clinics, and chasing coaches down, and hopefully you'd buy them a beer or two so they could share a little bit with you on a napkin,
Yep.
Or you're trying to steal a VHS tape and find it from driving to meet a coach or somewhere to Dairy Queen so you could trade video, and, things have really come a long way. But, I still coach I love the kids. But just as much, I love coaching coaches and getting to work with them and helping those coaches go help kids. And, ultimately, we're servants. And, what we do, if we do a good job, we're giving kids memories and opportunities that they wouldn't have without our hard work. And so for the coaches that are really wanting to get better, if there's anything that I can do to add to it, then I always love being able to work with some coaches. we do go to put in some installs. We're going to do one, I guess we've done in 3 or 4 different states. I'm not really fired up about doing it in Texas. I will say this, in Texas, we're spoiled. We have a bunch of different resources for those kind of things. I absolutely love being able to go to some of these other states and work with some of the coaches that don't necessarily get some of these resources and opportunities that we have. I really enjoy that a lot. That's something that we have done. We've also done Zooms with different staffs and look for opportunities like that as well.
Coach, and you mentioned your spring ball. Give us a ballpark. Is that like beginning of May, end of May? When does spring ball start? If a coach wants to come out and spend a couple of days with you in spring ball.
Absolutely. And like you said, we've got a couple. We've got a staff from New Jersey. It's going to come, one from Massachusetts. Last year we had Arkansas and Oklahoma and Louisiana. And, so it's been open. We have the last week of April, and it runs through the first 3 weeks of May. Okay. So in Texas, we get 30 days to get in 18 workouts. So those that are interested in that, then we have staff pricing, and then we have individual coach pricing as well. That, we can kind of talk to them a little bit about that and to get exactly our dates and times and what access that would get them.
And coaches, as far as the install, Coach Ross has went out to several high schools like I have. We've been blessed. I think I've got a couple. In fact, I'm going to Coach's neck of the woods to put the pistol wing tee at Southwest Christian High School in the first weekend of April. And I think I'm at 90 something. And coaches, what I'm going to tell you about the install is you can't replace the in-person thing. Coach and I both have made videos of championship productions, and we've done different recordings for different places. There are things when you're live with the coaches and you're on the field with kids, it's so hard to replicate that on a video or in a playbook. I had a couple of things I heard, like I did an install and the coach said, Rick, these 12 hours we just spent with you replaced 12 years of going to clinics. Because when you're on the field installing it, especially with players. So if you guys bring Coach Ross to your school, your players have just met Coach Ross for the first time. So your players are going to make mistakes. And what's valuable is you can't script the mistakes. And then you'll see how coach corrects it live. What buzzword did he use? How did he fix it? And your young coaches should just be absorbing that, because buzzwords is a very valuable language that a young coach needs to learn. You need to have a library, a glossary of buzzwords. And sometimes I don't even know my buzzwords, and I'm at the installs and I see a kid do it wrong and my buzzword comes out because I've seen that 1,000 times. And the coaches are like, wow, that was a great buzzword. I go, what word did I use? Sometimes I'm not even cognizant that I used that buzzword. So coaches, if you do have a little bit of financial resources to get coach on a plane and get him a rental car and get him up to your school, that is so valuable. But we understand some coaches are strapped for money. And so the next best thing is probably, contact coach about a Zoom thing. And then, sometimes it's more economical for you to get on a plane and go visit coach down there in the greater Dallas Fort Worth area, right? I know Lovejoy it's kind of a suburb. Am I accurate geography?
Yeah, it's really easy to fly into Love Field. I mean, we're 30 minutes from Love Field. So we're just a north metroplex, North Dallas area. Okay.
So they would fly into DFW and then drive north a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, reach out to Coach. I'm really excited. Coach, I can't wait to have another beer with you at San Francisco. I don't know if I can stay up that late again, Coach. I'm getting my 1 a.m.s. Those are limited. I only have so many of those that I have in the tank. Coach, again, thank you. I think you and I feel the same way. I'm really blessed to be able to do these podcasts for Glazier and have a larger platform to bring coaches like you to them. And we'll see you on the Glazier circuit. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Those of you guys driving your car, working out, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, we appreciate your time. Time is valuable. Time is it never feels like time is a coach's friend, right? We're all looking for the job that has a 28-hour workday. We all want to apply for that job, but then we would complain that 28 hours is not enough.
That's right.
So again, Coach, and Coach gave up his time there in Dallas. He's away from his wife right now. It's supper time to help you out. So again, Coach, I'm going to end the recording. If you got any parting remarks?
Oh no, just always enjoy being able to spend some time with some coaches and help them coach kids. And any way we can help them, then please don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. So coaches, again, this podcast was brought to you by allaccesscoaching.com. We're a group of championship level coaches, all dedicated to helping you as a coach. We have tons of free content on the website. Please go over there. The Coaches Corner has hundreds and hundreds of blog articles. We do 3 webinars a week. This is one of them. We have all of our podcasts organized by subject on our website, but you can find all of our podcasts everywhere podcasts are found: Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. And all this is free, coaches. Just go to my website, podcast, webinars, blog articles, forums. We do have our camps and clinics page if you're interested in what city our team of coaches are speaking in next, or you could attend one of our mini deep dive installs or system clinics that Kenny Simpson and myself are putting on. Coaches, again, we appreciate your time. Hopefully you got a good drive in, a good workout. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and follow us on our YouTube channel.